What up, everyone? Today we're going to be doing a double feature from a really good trusted friend of mine. We've done these double features, and especially when they're centered around a theme or something, and they're always really interesting. And we're going to be checking out Chicago again. I hope you've hung out with me when we first checked out Chicago, and if not, please look up Sebastian Duran Chicago and see what you get. But we're going to be checking out, does anyone really know what time it is? And we're going to join that with Bruce Cockburn's And They Call It Democracy. We're going to go through these songs uninterrupted, especially at first listening. Gonna feel the songs, then we'll analyze a little bit. We've checked out Cockburn before, and I'm guessing with a twofer, this may be getting in the world of addressing and making us think about just real life and current events. I won't analyze the songs directly with current events, not meaning I don't care about things that are going on, but I'm looking for true principles that I can then apply to these things, and hopefully then for you as well. Not because I'm any wiser than you are, but an important thing about listening to songs, it's maybe the revelations and inspirations that they give us. And we can probably only get those takeaways if we just really listen down and be as present as possible. So that's what we'll do. I hope in one way or the other that this is a good experience for you. So with Chicago, let's do the official audio here first for this first listen. To any of you who are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Thank you for hanging out. Check out the description down below to find ways to engage, ways to support, ways to donate, sponsors. Check out me, my wife's other channels. Go to the Life of Duran channel and please subscribe and give our latest video a like and a view. I'm going to put those in the end screens for you here in just a second. And before we hit play, please, if you can, if you're not watching on your TV and you have access to the comments here, comment down below what brings you here for these songs we're checking out. But all right, let's do this.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why we've all got time enough to cry. And I was walking down the street one day, a pretty lady looked at me and said her diamond watch had stopped cold dead. And I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. If that song was playing the radio, you'd just be like, wow, that's pretty pleasant. I haven't gone through the lyrics on a read or anything like that yet, but the trumpets and again, the wind instruments, that's one of the things that I remember about Chicago, but it makes you, it paints this like oblivious picture where like, oh, life is so great. It's just chill. Things are nice. But you're listening to that chorus. If I think I heard it right, we'll see. I'm going to have to listen to it again to see if this is what they were trying to evoke and say. But the song feels sarcastic. And therefore, in that chorus saying, does anybody really know what time it is? They don't really care. Written and sung by Robert Lamb and recorded by the group Chicago, part of their debut album. It was the first song recorded for their debut album. According to AllMusic critic Lindsay Planer, the lyrics are about a hurried and harried modern society as it ultimately fails to take the time to appreciate anything existing outside of its insular world. Well, that's what I was thinking. I don't want to read more into it before I come in and go through the lyrics here. Yeah, does anybody know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to cry. The song is a critique on ignorance is bliss. A hard thing for me personally to balance. I am doing everything I can to stay away from social media news because I don't think we were made to be hearing so much tragic, awful, terrible news all the time. But you also don't want to be oblivious to people being mass murdered or wars or injustice, right? But then I remind myself like how helpless I feel at a global scale to do anything. So then I'm like, it's not that I'm oblivious by escaping to my family, but all I can do is raise my kids. I feel like that's the only thing I can actually do to make the world a better place. But there are times where maybe I'm so focused at least on having fun. Oh, I want to make sure I found the time to watch my shows and play my video games and numb out important things. And maybe I think that, but the song is critiquing are just being maybe so distracted by our pleasures that, well, so the second verse, I was walking down the street one day, a pretty lady looked at me and said her diamond watch had stopped cold dead. And I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Yet again, I was walking down the street being pushed and shoved, trying to beat the clock. I just don't know. I don't know. And I said, yes, I said, okay, and then there was like a little talking track there, which I think is this part. People running everywhere, don't know where to go, don't know where I am, can't see past the next step, don't have time to think past the last one, have no time to look around, just run around, think why. The song could also be, so this friend of mine, he brought up Eckhart Tolle and the power of now. And being fully present into what you're actually doing in this moment is the most productive and effective thing any of us can do at any time, right? So sometimes I can't see past the next step, don't have time to think past the last one. It's actually that's a good spot to have your focus on, to be honest. But then as we come here to the next chorus, the way they change it this time, Robert Lamb changes it this time. Does anyone know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to die. It has like a feeling of being just a pleasant, jazzy song at times, but then it's just not. Maybe that's what it is. I want to see what this is like live, man. This sounds like the news, like the jingle. Okay. I can't believe this is live. It sounds fascinating. So we got this TV jingle, and then this. I'm rushing to get out the door. That's what I'm feeling, right? Rushing to get out the door. Doing my thing.
As I was walking down the street one day,
This is such a pleasant chorus.
Anybody really care? I can't imagine why. If I had time enough to cry. And I was walking down the street one day. A pretty lady looked at me and said her diamond watch had stopped cold day. And I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really
The bass line is incredible, is what I'm noticing this time around too.
can't imagine why. Got time enough to cry. And I was walking down the street one day. He pushed and shoved my people trying to look like oh, I just don't know. I don't know. And I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody
Quick bands.
I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to die.
Such a great, I can't believe that's live, man. I know the first time I listened to Chicago, it was the fact that it was live that completely shocked me and stunned me. Flawless performance. They sound so good. The jazz element to it is wonderful. But see, Lamb talking about it, it's not a complicated song, but it's certainly a quirky song. And that was my intent. I wanted to write something that wasn't ordinary, that wasn't blues-based, that didn't have ice cream changes, that would allow the horns to shine and give Lee a solo. So all that was the intent. The original uncut album version has a piano solo. And you have that intro, right? So it starts with 4/4, then goes into a 5/8, then goes into a 6/8 for one bar, then the song stays in 4/4. Kind of, so for me, it's just like, all right, wake up, watch the news. Oh crap, I gotta get out the door. And now we're in this amount, I'm going to work. And that's all I have to think about. Chicago is awesome. It is so unusual. And from the first time you guys had me listen to 25, 6, and 4, 25 or 6 to 4, what a jam. What a jam. And the request I got was, hey, how does this tie in with Bruce Cockburn's Call It a Democracy, right? Protest song. Maybe the things that we want to stay away from, but have to be thought about at times, right? Maybe. I think so. Let's see what Bruce has to say here. That bass, though. Sorry, I'm not going to talk.
Having the power, here they come. International loan sharks, backed by the guns of market-hungry military profiteers, whose word is a swamp and whose brow is smeared with the blood of the poor. Who rob life of its quality, who render rage a necessity, by turning countries into labor camps, modern slavers and drag as champions of freedom. Sinister and cynical instrument who makes the gun into a sacrament. The only response to the deification of tyranny by so-called developed nations, idolatry of ideology. North, south, east, west, kill the best and buy the rest. It's just spend a buck to make a buck. You don't really give a flying about the people in misery. IMF, dirty IMF, takes away everything it can get. the fellas, and it's open for business like a cheap bordello, and they call it democracy. 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 You see the loaded eyes of the children too, trying to make the best of it the way kids do. One day you're gonna rise from your habitual feast to find yourself staring down the throat of the beast they call a revolution. IMF, dirty IMF, takes away everything it can get. Always making certain that there's one thing left. Keep them on the hook with insupportable debt. And they call it democracy. And they call it democracy.
If I recall, it's him with a guitar. He's an incredible guitarist. Wow, man. Yeah, he in terms of a political performer and storyteller, he's effective at it. I don't know who every single person shown was, so I don't know who is good or bad. Of course, with a few exceptions there, right? Because you got like Martin Luther King, and even me in Chile, we love, like, all of us know the story of Martin Luther King and why we remember him, right? But so there's exceptions there, but wow, the story of just reminding us of just a devastating thing that when it comes to industrial military complex and big companies, and maybe the reason why my boy here who wanted us to check out both of these songs together, that obliviousness that Chicago painted, what it might be costing, right? I mentioned earlier, like, even I myself go into that route. I don't know what else to do. But then there's a few things like when I consider how this thing was made, because of how much it improves my life, it also can screw it up if I start doing social media and stuff, but sure, I read my scriptures here. I get in touch and I stay connected to my family when I travel, because I travel so much. So in that obliviousness, am I acting in a way that can help, again, children that are making this, or my Nikes, or, yeah, man, like, that's a thing. Padded with power, here they come, international loan sharks backed by guns, of market-hungry military profiteers whose word is a swamp and whose brow is smeared with the blood of the poor, who rob life of its quality, who render rage a necessity by turning countries into labor camps, modern slavers in drag as champions of freedom. Whoa! Sinister, cynical instrument who makes the gun into a sacrament. When I heard that line in the song, I was like, oh my gosh. The only response to the deification of tyranny by so-called developed nations, idolatry of ideology. North, south, east, west, kill the best and buy the rest. There's a spend a buck to make a buck. You don't really give a flying. They censored that in the song about the people in misery. IMF, dirty MF, don't know what that's in reference to, takes away everything it can get. Like, again, I'm not like too unread and uneducated, right? But you have to take my education with a grain of salt, right? I grew up in Chile. My parents were there doing our revolution and things like that, right? And then the coup, where atrocities happened, yet it saved my family's life. It's like the hardest thing to balance for my family. But because my country had tried, socialism, things like that, I grew up, like, in 8th grade, I had to read, like, I read the Gulag Archipelago, right? So then I'm like really mindful of things like that happen. So again, I'm not like completely uneducated on world events, And I've learned that people are trying to trick me, if that's the thing, if there's a point there to make. But I don't know what dirty IMF means, a dirty mother, right? But takes away everything it can get. Always making certain there's one thing left. Keep them on the hook with insupportable debt. You see the paid off local bottom feeders passing themselves off as leaders. Oh, kiss the ladies, shake hands with the fellows, and it's open for business like a cheap bordello. And they call it democracy. See the loaded eyes of children too. And when I used to live in the Philippines, I have looked into the eyes of kids working to make the clothes I was wearing, and it was a rough thing to see, man. Yet I still go and buy my stuff at Target. Ugh. Trying to make the best of it the way kids do. One day you're gonna rise from your habitual feast to find yourself staring down the throat of the beast. They call it revolution. One more time, that bridge, and they call it democracy. Dude, the song is a jam. Incredible bass line, incredible solo. He sounds cool. Looks cool. It's like a more pleasant Rage Against the Machine, you know what I mean? Or Rage on behalf of the machine, whatever side you fall on, right? So guys, how do we balance? I don't know. I think that's for each of us to be finding out and using things like music, art, literature to be thinking through. A song like this lives on, and a lot of other stuff is being shown and said, because this is where my Christianity will come, not to preach. But children of God, no matter what our differences are being killed. Children of God are committing that murder. They have forgot who they are, clearly. The reminder of when we completely other and vilify people who are different to us, what that can lead us to do. It's a sobering thing. So I feel I enjoyed the songs, both of them, so much. As I think about the topics, I feel helpless, man. So not to fall into what was the thought I had going through Chicago of the probably not that good to be this oblivious, but hope. I think what it's done for me, it has added a focus of I'm not working hard just to have money. I'm working hard to make a difference. I'm going to start making that difference with my own children, being a present father and a good father to them, loving my wife, serving her, serving my neighborhood, serving my church. And hopefully if I succeed, meaning I do good in my sales with my W-2 and I do good with this channel, that I use whatever products and goods and services I produce and the money that generates, I hope I actually make people's lives better, sorry. Live in the now. Much love, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. We'll catch you in the next one.